Welcome to this safety podcast. This session is going to be on some of the recent updates to UniSafe, and then also I'll take you through just a summary of the recent additions to the online modules. So today's podcast will take you through the questions that have been added to the triage tab and the incident tab in UniSafe. I'll also take you through the automatic notifications for overdue actions, which some of you may have already noticed. These improvements and changes have been based on feedback and also just looking to make sure that we're covered for Return to Work SA, taking some feedback that Dave Parsons has provided, and just generally to make sure that we're always improving along the way. And then, as I said, the online modules that are already up. So just take you to the triage page now. You'll see that the question that we've added is, does this incident involve an injury to an international student? So we've added this to help out some of the student support areas in the university so that they can easily get reports out of UniSafe on injuries to international students. So it's going to be important as a part of your investigation where you discover it involves a student that you double check and ask to see if they're an international student. This is not a question you'll actually be able to assume the answer. It will be defaulted to no in the system, but that's just so you can save the page because we decided not to make it mandatory because we know how hard it is to progress investigations when you don't have all the information right at the beginning. So the key thing here is going to be if you come across an incident that involves a student, you're going to have to specifically ask the question to see whether they're an international student. So the next changes are all been made to the HSW Incident Report tab, and as you see, they're all down the bottom here, and they, is the incident required to be reported externally to SafeWork? Has the HSR been notified? And has the person reported been contacted? So the first question, and as you'll notice there, once again, these have all got defaults that are already marked. So it will assume these, but as part of your investigation, you'll need to make sure that those assumptions are correct. So with this first one, is the incident reportable to SafeWork? This is a process we've been going through automatically. Annie and I follow the incidents as they come in, or we might get contacted by a HSW hub or a HSWO and have a discussion as to whether we think it meets the criteria for a notifiable. What this does is it will just record that consideration. It'll also make it easier to report on just notifiables. The second one, has the HSR been notified? We've included a not applicable here because there may be incidents that have occurred in areas that don't have an elected health and safety representative. So if that's the case, it will be not applicable. But otherwise, if an incident has occurred in an area that has an elected health and safety representative, we should be going through a process to make sure that we advise them. So the answer should be yes in those circumstances. If you're having trouble locating them, you might indicate no, just until you're able to advise them. Click yes. But this is something that, once again, there's no specification as to how they've been notified. You could telephone them, you could send them an email, You could even send them a notification through the triage tab notification section. But if we have an incident where in an area where the workers or the work group is covered by an elected health and safety representative, we should be notifying them of the fact that there's been an incident. That's all we need to do. If they decide to follow that up and say they want to be part of the investigation or they want a copy of the investigation, that's up to them. But we've got to notify them. And then with the last one, has the person reporting the incident been contacted? You'll remember that in the community of practice, we actually discussed that it's an expectation that people are contacted. It gives an opportunity for us to thank them for their incident report. And if we need to, we can then ask follow-up questions. So it's important to realise that when a member of the university community reports an incident from UniSafe, they receive nothing back. So we are when we've been asked in HSW Central, how do I know that my incident's been received? We've been advising staff that they will be contacted by the HSWO responding. So it's important to realise that that's an expectation. As I said, these will start with defaults. If you've got any questions as incidents come up, you can always contact Annie or I for some advice. So next we'll get to the overdue email notifications for corrective actions. So some of you may have already received them. For those of you that haven't, we've made some changes to UniSafe so that when an action falls overdue, an email is sent by UniSafe to the person who assigns the action and to the person who the action is assigned to. I'll just take you to the email now. We've added and increased the information that's provided as part of the email based on your feedback. So they'll get all of the information that's recorded in UniSafe under the action description and action summary. So this is where people who've been assigned actions should be able to easily understand what they need to do. But it's also important to remember that it's actually good practice that you're speaking to people about the action that's being assigned, so it's not coming to them as a surprise. As HSWOs, it always is important that actions should come after there's been some sort of discussion. It gives them a chance to ask questions, and the actual email is simply a summary and notification of what's already occurred. So now we'll get on to the information sessions. There's been quite a lot that's been put up. If you haven't noticed yet, the HSW for supervisors, and also with all of these new courses, I'd strongly encourage HSWOs, if they've got some time, to refresh their memory, because all of them have been updated and reviewed to make sure that they link to the handbook chapters, that they increase people's knowledge and understanding of the handbook chapters, and it can also basically help your vocabulary around some of the handbook chapters as well. So with the HSW for supervisors, as I said, that goes through the overall structure of the handbook chapters and how supervisors can use them to easily understand what their roles and responsibilities are. It also goes through what's expected of them as a supervisor. And then also it goes through what resources are available to them. So that's one that's been we've done in some form for a while now. So it'll be good it'll be good to get people to refresh themselves with that new course. Information instruction and training. We've got the key requirements of that handbook chapter, and it is a handbook chapter where we do get a lot of questions on. So once again, it'd be good for HSWAs to refresh their memory by doing that session. And then where there are any in particular supervisors that are they're looking for a better understanding of how that needs to operate. If there's any area lab managers, workshop managers that need to understand how this works, this is a good session that once again will improve people's understanding. Next one, hazard management, and this is. As we all know, this is a key and significant one. Has been updated into a new format. Has been updated to include the use of the new tools and templates. So that's a key change that we've made. That we're hoping we can see a greater uptake in the use of our templates, because we've designed them for simplicity of use. But that one goes through how to develop and approve a risk assessment, which is a key issue on the ground, and also who's responsible for what parts when it comes to hazard management. Bullying and harassment has been reviewed and simplified, so that's one that's been in place for a while. That's now in the new format. Radiation safety management. Once again, that's been updated. It's actually been broken into 2 modules to make it easier to complete. And the broken links have all been identified and fixed in that. And then, last but not least, the event safety management. This is one where our templates and our guidance, our FAQs have provided most of the information. But for people who do a lot of events, and we do have some business units in particular where there are key roles in the business unit that do a lot of events, this is a handy one to remember that we've got in place to help them. So that's it. If we're looking to see people's responses and reactions to a quick podcast like this, if you think you're a good idea, a bad idea, if there's other ways in which you think we can provide the information in the podcast, let us know, give us some feedback. Otherwise, thanks very much.